right, so let's call the meeting to order at 7:05. We'll stand and say the pledge, as is our custom. It's behind Janet. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I know this is a very busy time of year, so we will try to be brief but efficient and get through everything. We have quite a few things, but some of them I think we'll be able to move quickly through. First, I just want to mention it's not appointments, but I did receive some correspondence. I have a thank you note from Joanne Marston. I will put that right here if anyone wants to take a look at it. And we also received best wishes for a great holiday from the staff at SMP. So that was in my mailbox. Okay. Old business. Let's check the minutes to look through our November action items.
Yeah, that's, I think it was 15th.
I think that would be under, let's see. I believe that's under the November 23rd minutes. Okay, so the things I see listed here are basically regarding the gifts for the staff. We did take care of that. In fact, I just gave Yvette holiday cards that I wrote to each staff member, which contained the 2 gift cards. So those are all set to be distributed. We'll just keep going through because some of the other things that I had on my list of to do are listed under old business. So the first one is regarding SMP. The next step in our process as far as the site selection is for the development fund to meet. So with Yvette's help, we were able to schedule a meeting for this coming, yes, I guess it is this coming Monday. It'll be the 27th. We'll be having a Zoom meeting with the development fund to give me an opportunity to apprise them as to where we are in the site selection process. I spoke with or emailed with Holly Morales from their board, and she asked if she should invite any trustees. And I did mention that we can't have 3 trustees there because that would be considered a meeting. We'd have to post it. But if there's any one trustee who'd like to attend just to hear or meet everybody and see what they do, just let me know. We will be meeting via Zoom at 5 o'clock on the 27th. So.
Can I ask you to repeat, which you said right in the beginning, who you are meeting with?
The development fund, I'm sorry. Yep, the development fund. Just because we wanted to let the friends and the development fund know where we were in the process. And then after that, the next step would be, I think, to speak with someone from the town, probably Paul McCallie, and just see, make sure that he knows what we're thinking and kind of work with him. Also, I have been emailing with Jason a little bit, Jason Lacombe from SMP, and he sent me a sample RFP for a fundraising consultant, which I will forward to all of you just to give us something to look at, because if we were to move forward with the site selection and a future building program, we would need to hire a fundraising consultant.
RFP.
Request for proposal. So this would be what we would send out to ask for somebody to work with us on the fundraising. We know that would be a very important part of any program we would put forward, so we'd want to address that. And he feels like that's the next step, is to line up that person and develop a program like that. Because you could have 2 things running sort of simultaneously, your fundraising efforts, getting up and started and working with that person and hiring that person, as well as moving forward with a general contractor, and those sorts of things. So I will forward that to you just for your reference to take a look at. I didn't want to just forward it randomly, though, without telling you what it was. So I will take care of that. I think that's all I have about SMP. Is there anything I'm forgetting or any questions anyone might have? Okay. Copier is a placeholder for us, so we'll just keep it there. Eventually, we'll figure out something about that. Okay. The next is strategic planning. Janet, Yvette, and I met the past 2 Mondays So not this Monday, but the 13th and the 6th. And we went through the initial document that was sort of information about the organization. And the next step is for us to meet as a board with perhaps some staff members and to bring in Anne from Excellence North, who was the person we voted to work with on this process. And I have some dates from her that she's available in January. So I thought rather than go through them here and us all consult our calendar, I will send them to you. She's available most weeknights. And then we could also do a Saturday morning, which we have done in the past, which might be a better, I hate to take people Saturdays, but if we're doing something that's sort of the first step in a long range plan, I think a lot of us feel more comfortable giving that time and consideration on a Saturday morning versus 7, 8 o'clock on a weekday. So just keep that in mind. I'll send you the dates, and she seems very flexible. And I can also, I think Yvette, you maybe could share with them what we've written so far. We can't comment on it because commenting on a working document would be considered a meeting, but you can have what we've done and maybe just make your own notes for when we meet as a group. So just to refresh your memory, Anne felt that it would be better if a couple people got the framework set up. Some stuff Yvette plugged in for us because it was obvious. But then other things, we had some interesting conversations, and I look forward to hearing what everybody has to say about this. Any questions about what I reported on for strategic planning? I feel like those S&P and strategic planning were the two things that I was sort of responsible for, so I wanted to make sure I let you know about that. Okay. Chiller. This is not something I can speak to. Can someone speak to where we are with the chiller? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? So the chiller is something we have to investigate. I know we have other issues as well. Have you had a chance to talk to, I know we were looking at our financing options for that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of wide open right now.
Okay.
Goodness, this was like 3 months ago. So one of the options was to look in any of our current POs, out and out pay for it. We don't have to put in the capital reserve because that's not how the town does it anymore. We just go in front of the town council. It's interesting though because I've gotten kind of conflicting information in terms of if we wanted to go in front of the town council. One time I was told that we would need a couple quotes, and then another time I was told just present. And there's money in our capital savings fund, so capital reserve fund. So the money is there. If we need it to use, we would just need the approval of the town council. I think one of the questions that the last time I was left with was the next step. It's like, so right now we still need the chiller because it's basically dead. But at the same time, where we're going to look at the heating part of it. Was that, am I?
Yeah.
I think that is wise, just to look at if we're going to do this, does it make more sense to have the whole thing done? I don't know.
I mean, if it's this, wasn't it something Johnson?
It's just Johnson.
Oh, it's just Johnson.
Johnson Controls.
Do they do all of that?
They can, but I don't think we have a quote from them
Okay.
for everything. But he did write to me and say, are you interested in this? Because if so, you're going to need to get an updated quote because now it's past
Of
the 90
course.
days. So,
So
we
could
can
we,
get two
yeah,
quotes.
that's what I was going to ask, if you could get two
Yeah.
quotes. And because I know that we also have to talk about the roof, that was something that's come up. So it might be, we can't do everything because of other things we need to take care of.
Right.
So the chiller is something that will definitely have to be done though.
Yep.
So once we have the new quote, we have 90 days, maybe we should put on our agenda for January is to vote on moving forward, with the chiller one way or another, and decide how we're going to pay for that, because it's going to have to be done. There's not really a question of whether we can put this off for another year, so we
Right.
need to do it. It's just looking at the quote,
It's a when.
deciding how we want to find the money, and that, okay. So that will be a big item for us in January. And Yvette, if you could just forward us that, obviously, when you get it, that would be great.
Do I assume the quote's gonna be something similar. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be within the ballpark of what you already sent us. Do we want, like, how do we want to pay for it? What's the goal? I mean, and I say that because if we're gonna look at like a portion maybe coming from the open POs,
Mhm.
or even what's excess at the end of this year, putting that towards the chiller. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, do we want all the options, or do we want, I mean,
Also, wasn't there an option about, we were looking into maybe paying over time?
right, the installments, right.
But-
And I don't know whether that would be an advantage or a disadvantage. I don't know why we would do that. Or-
There's an 8%, I was gonna say tax, but it's
Like a
not,
fee?
it's an 8% interest rate.
Oh.
And then,
Oh.
yes, at least as what it was, and I remember you sent me an email about it, because you asked them, and there was something that's pretty much their standard rate, if I recall,
Hmm.
was the 8% to do the financing.
I'm not a fan of that. So
Honestly, I'm not a fan of that either.
Yeah, I mean, if we have the money, we can find the money. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me to find. It might make us feel better financing it that we're not taking this big chunk of money out, but we're paying it one way or another,
Absolutely.
and we're paying
extra on
we're
top
paying
of it,
extra on
so-
top of it, which
Yeah.
doesn't seem. I mean, I know that so I think it would be, where would we take the money from open POs? We could find it there.
Well, there's a bunch of places, like I
Okay.
said, because there's, again, a couple months ago, I just looked at what was already going to be a surplus out of the wage line.
Well, sure, because we've had some staff stuff. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Exactly, that, and then open POs, and then that doesn't necessarily pay for all of it,
Mm-hmm.
but then whether we want to pay for all of it, the rest of it, or if we want to split it with the town,
Mhm.
there's options.
So, I'm thinking that if we use open POs, we won't be able to use the money from this year's. Could we use money from this year's budget? Or do we really want to wait
This
till the
year's
end?
as in 21,
The current
22?
year that we're in, that we're going to have a staff surplus in, can we use that money now, or do
Sure.
we need to wait till the end? Okay.
No, we would be able to.
Maybe you could just give us an idea of what we're looking at.
Sure.
Okay. I know you have to wait for the quote, but you know the ballpark of it.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody in favor of going for the installment plan? I don't want to
No.
no. Okay. So I think that's like off the table.
We
I
should
think.
split with the town, though.
Well,
because-
splitting with the town doesn't mean that the town's paying for it. It means that we would be going to the capital reserve,
Right.
correct? So,
Well, the capital reserve or town, whatever, is getting quite a bit of money from conservation because they hit their funding cap. So about 40,000 a month is going into the town's general fund. So
Yeah,
we
that's not
should
how
ask
this
from
works,
them.
though.
yeah, ours is different according
Yeah.
to Janet. So,
There's an account, a savings account essentially, that's set up specifically library. And every year, based off our budget, $75,000 of the town's taxes gets put into that account, that savings account specifically for the library. And then Yvette sends out pretty much around September-ish, all the capital improvement projects that we need to do for the library. And Tom Bolin and Paul McCallie rack and stack throughout this year and throughout the 10 years, where those major capital improvement projects could be fixed. And they determine how much money needs to go into that fund. So it's not, we're totally separate from
Okay.
the town's money. So,
Can we get the town's money?
well, it's all
Um,
the town's money. It's our money that we're governing, but it all comes from the same tax base, right? So we're trying to, I think, use it wisely. Trustees have additional funds, but we're looking at other things, fine, free. Like, there's just a lot of things sort of up in the air. I think we need to maybe.
There's also sorry to interrupt
No,
you, but
please.
there's also it needs to be presented in front of the town council.
Mhm.
So,
I feel like, something I would feel comfortable with, or at least exploring, is what do we have in open POs? What do we have in surplus that won't hamper the current budget at all, right? But that we can say, and then what's the balance left over? And if there's a balance left over, perhaps that's what we go forth and say, you know, this is how we're paying for a part of it, but now we do need to use some of the capital reserve, especially if we want to do the whole project, which might be the best way to do it, is to have it done completely. So if we can kind of piece together something like that, I think that for me ticks a lot of the boxes that we need to.
And as, for me, I agree, there's maybe for the whole project, maybe the chiller's the smaller part versus the heating system being the larger part, and we take care of the chiller and the town takes care of the,
And
I mean,
and I
something like
think
that.
one of the problems that the library has faced, and this might not be something we can ever avoid just because given the nature of the building, but is piecing together things, right? So you get one part taken care of and then you put off and you take the other one. So there's something to be said for having somebody look at the whole system comprehensively and work on it all together so that they have a working knowledge of how the whole thing works, and we can put off or hopefully avoid any problems where it's like, oh, they did that with the chiller? Yeah, but now when we do this with the heating, we need to change things. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think it'd just be nice to have a whole picture of
Yeah.
the situation, so.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
agree.
sure the staff and patrons would love heat and cooling that's reliable too.
Yes,
I don't know.
exactly. Something that when they turn it on or turn it off, it
Yeah.
works.
And you know, you think about, I mean, not to go totally down this rabbit hole, but the staff time spent on, and the spent bringing in contractors to piece together solutions for this problem and trying to fix it, it all adds up over time. So.
Absolutely.
Yvette, what are your thoughts on this?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I just think everything so far,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Okay, so we're on the right track. Let's put this on our, try to make a decision, I think, in January, one way or the other, what we're doing, and have a plan, rather than let it kind of sit there when we know we have to do it. It feels fun to avoid it, because we don't have to think about the money, but we have to get it done, so. Okay. Proposed holiday schedule 2022. So we were going to see, was there, you did let us know that the town is not going to be closed on Juneteenth, is that correct?
I did, and, because I sent you the town holidays for
Mhm.
2022, but, you know, we're still talking about this in the director meetings that I go to, and one of the things that, one of the Jim Ilks directors had said was, the library was gonna be closed, but the, town was gonna be open because, of their union contracts, and the union contracts in this particular town are multiple year, and so they have their set
Sure.
holidays in the
Yeah.
contract. So it would be when that contract runs out, then the town would also be closed.
I will say that in preparation for tonight's meeting, I went back and refreshed my memory about MLK Day and Civil Rights Day, and because I was thinking that was a holiday that was added within the last 20-plus years, and read a little bit about it going before the, you know, that it was a federal holiday, and then how New Hampshire handled it and stuff. And I think this is going to be coming our way. It's a federal holiday. A lot of places were closed last year. I looked in some libraries in other states, they're closed. You know, I think this is something, and not that we have to follow suit, but I feel like, yeah, this is added to our, this is a holiday now. This is something that people are observing. Banks are closed. Like, there are things happening. So, Mike, did you have your hand raised?
Oh, no.
You
Hands
didn't?
are pretty low.
Oh, I thought you went like this. I wasn't sure.
Oh, no.
Okay. So I will say that with some consideration, I think we should just do it. But that's my opinion. I'm willing to
You
hear.
think what?
I think we should do it. I think we should close. But I will, and you know what? Nothing is set in stone. We can close and we can always be like, people weren't happy about that. Our patrons weren't happy, or the town has decided they're not going to. Like, we can make changes to things, you know? I don't know. Thoughts? Go ahead. Now you have your hand raised. Okay, go ahead.
So I think we should have something educational instead of closing. It just, what's closing? It's just giving people a day off, and they're probably not going to think about the holiday unless they come across something like that. So if other places are closed and they decide, oh, let's go to the library on our day off,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Okay.
might expose them to something they otherwise wouldn't have
Okay.
come across.
What are other people's thoughts? Like it's something we talk about just because, we have 2 different opinions. What are people thinking? So,
Specifically for Juneteenth?
Yes, please.
Oh, New Hampshire recognized it, this past year, so I don't have a problem with it.
It's a federal holiday, even, whether you open or close,
Yeah.
you need to recognize it.
And keep in mind that Columbus Day, the library used to be many moons ago closed,
Yeah.
and then the trustees at one point chose to open. So it's not like things don't change in the schedule. So
Right, but I think Yvette told us last year that they moved, they use it as a float, so the town uses that.
Well,
Oh,
I don't know what the town does. We do it,
okay.
so.
what would that look like for our staff if we were to do it versus if we weren't?
Can I say my 2 cents?
Yes.
I think it is, I'll preface this with, I do a lot of EDI study. And I think, it sounds like we're speaking from a position of privilege to say, I'm not gonna recognize that holiday because it has nothing to do with me. I mean, Veterans Day, I'm not a veteran. My dad was, but I don't recognize that holiday. I do nothing. Is it educational for me? It's educational for me, and holidays that I don't acknowledge because I'm not a veteran. Around the holiday, there's still all of the information about it, and I think closing, it's an acknowledgement that it is an important day, and it's more important for some than others. I think with Juneteenth, if the history behind the holiday is, everyone was freed, but the message didn't get out until so many months later, and we ignore that, it just kind of compounds the message. It's a very negative message that it compounds. I don't think it goes with the library's mission, frankly. Columbus Day was a practical move. It was a holiday that was getting a lot of negative attention. But in a practical sense, no one came into the library on the day after Thanksgiving, and yet we were fully staffed. And, people would come in on the Columbus Day holiday because it was a Monday, and it made a lot more sense to try and keep our holiday days total consistent, but then, take that closed day and put it over here, when it made more sense because no one was coming into the library anyway. And we were doing programs. We were doing come in Black Friday to the library. No one was coming into Black Friday at the library. It didn't make any sense, but we tried it. So.
Okay. Karen, I'm interested in hearing people's opinions, and I also want to say, Mike, and I don't know if Sohini, you're on the board, but one time we had a vote when we were via Zoom, and a lot of times we are in concert and we vote together, but there are times that we don't. And I just remember very clearly, a trustee who voted in opposition, and we were they felt bad afterwards, and I was like, no, that's why you have a vote. We don't always have to agree on things. That's why we vote. That's why we don't. When you have a quorum, you can vote. It's a majority of the board. So we don't all have to agree, so that's.
Well, I support closing and I support the education. I just want, it to be the most effective way, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but I guess I'm just trying to say, dissenting opinions welcome, right? So you can have, or perhaps this is the majority opinion if I put a vote to us. So, do you have anything you'd like to share before I make a motion? No. Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, I'm gonna at least make the motion, not the motion, but this is a lot of days off to
Yeah.
me.
That's-
I agree
I mean,
with Janice.
there's 18 days,
Yes.
that's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot.
We
That
are
is
open
a lot.
Saturdays,
I know,
so,
I know.
okay.
And that is actually the reason why most of these have that, because it's like January 1st, like it's observed for like New Year's Day on the 31st, which is the Friday, and then the 1st, and that falls like 4 times or something. Yeah. Yeah, it's 4 times, so.
Well, I mean, I think, there's some days the library's just not going to be open. Like, we're just not open on Thanksgiving. We're just not open on Christmas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those
Yeah.
are certain days that are not, nothing is going to happen. Was the library once closed for Mother's Day? Was this library or another one? There was
No.
a library that I
No.
once knew of that was closed for Mother's Day, right?
Mm-mm.
So, like, but that one you can be open for. But there are some days that we're just never going to be open for. So if you take those out, what are the ones? So your concern is that by closing, we're just closing an extra day that we should not be closed?
Well, most of it is because the holiday falls on this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking the observed day and they're taking the actual day.
Okay.
So, and it's because it falls on the Saturday.
So you're saying that like on other days?
So
Oh, 'cause like
2
Monday.
years from now, it
yeah,
won't matter.
Right. Right.
And it does come in cycles. It's
Right.
like every 7
Right,
years.
because like Christmas, we would be closed on Christmas and normally open on the 26th, but you have a day that it's observed, so that
Right.
changes. Yep. So this particular year is holiday heavy because of the observed days?
And I do have a question about the NELA conference. You brought it up in our meeting.
Mhm.
Is everyone going?
I have there's no program yet. There's no
Okay.
program. We have a location, and I signed a contract.
Okay.
But, I have no idea. I mean, there's no program, so I don't even know what's a good day for certain staff, and at this point, we could decide, or the board could decide to hold it virtually again, depending on what happens. So I don't know. It's kind of a placeholder as an idea,
Okay.
and it may not work for people that they even want to go or can go because of other obligations.
Right.
It's just good opportunity
Sure.
because it's local, and then there's a lot of maybes still.
Okay.
I think that maybe the way to handle that would be then that it is just a placeholder and that when
Mm.
you have a plan, you bring it to us and we
Oh, sure,
decide
yeah.
on that day.
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I just
well,
don't want
it's
to
what-
forget it.
Yeah, I know,
Get
understood,
it buried under
understood.
a lot of other things.
Yep.
Can you take off Easter? Every time, like, besides the fact that
Oh, sure.
Oh, well, we're closed on Sundays
on
anyways,
Sundays.
so yeah.
I-
Yeah,
Okay.
that whole thing is in the minutes.
Okay,
that I
yeah,
just
so we're
gave
closed
you.
on Sunday
Oh, okay.
anyway, so nothing's gonna change,
Right.
like it's,
And it
okay.
actually says that in the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
because we discussed it.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion that we accept the holiday schedule with the changes of Easter being removed and the addition of Juneteenth for 2022. Is there any further, sorry, I need a second before we can discuss it.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Just, would you repeat that again?
Sure. I make a motion that we accept the holiday schedule for 2022 with Easter being removed and Juneteenth being added.
Yep.
Can I add an amendment to that? And the NHLA NELA conference is a placeholder.
Okay, so with Easter removed, Juneteenth added, and NELA conference, NELA conference
Is a placeholder.
is a placeholder.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mike seconded?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, seeing no Karen, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, seeing no discussion, let's, all in favor Okay, 500. Thank you. This has
Great,
been something
thank
that's
you.
been on, sort of like there for like a year or two, and, you know, I think, yeah, yep, we're good. Okay, great. Still on old business, we have the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. Is there anything we need to know?
It's been submitted.
It's been submitted. Awesome. Okay, great. Moving on to, I think that's all the old business. That was what's on our agenda. So new business, policy review. Yvette sent us a couple of things. Yvette, did you want to speak to those, please?
Sure. So I sent you all of the policies that relate to challenges. All of the library directors are advised to just make sure that our trustees know about it and that they're updated, because our state librarian and our assistant state librarian feel that a lot of challenges are happening throughout the country, and these are tracked by the ALA. And just in case, make sure you have the documents, make sure they're updated, and make sure your board knows about it, because ultimately the challenge will come to you. So I think I sent it, didn't I?
Which one?
I'm trying to figure out
We
what
have
I
the
sent and
appeals
what I didn't
process,
send.
the request for consideration. You sent us the ALA document also.
Right, so I didn't send the collection development policy, or did I?
I don't remember
I don't
seeing
have
that.
it.
Okay, the collection development policy, I'm sorry I didn't send it, because I had a second email that I never actually hit send. But it's on our website. The only change is adding under B, the supporting documents, which would add the ALA statement on book censorship. That's the only change for that, which is in front of you. And so it's the appeals policy. There's no changes, just to review it, and I don't see that we need to make any updates. Programming policy, because on our challenge document, programs should be included in that, and it already is. So the programming policy, I don't see any changes we need to make. The ALA statement on book censorship, you should be familiar with it. It's already up on our website. The NHLA made a statement supporting it, so that's kind of, we should
Mhm.
all be supporting it. Media relations, I don't have any changes on this one either, but it's just, to review it. If you have changes to any of these, of course, you can tell me and we can discuss that.
Mhm.
And then the request for reconsideration of library resources form.
So let's take them one at a time. Do you want
Sure.
us to vote to approve to?
Yeah,
is it
because
time-
then I can
is it time?
update the dates and
Okay.
make sure the clean ones are posted.
So, let's look at the appeals process policy first. This was something that was looked at about a year ago. The process is pretty straightforward. The person brings their issue to library staff, library director, in writing. And then, library director makes an effort to address it. If the library user is dissatisfied, they come to us. And then really the policy sets out just the procedure and the days, so that it's not just hanging out there, that we will move forward with it. So are there any concerns about this policy at all? Okay. All right, I will make a motion that we accept the appeals process policy.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I have one question.
Sure.
So it says request within 30 days from the receipt by the chair.
Yep.
So sometimes if it is like between.
Oh.
like
Oh,
beyond-
put on your mic.
So, yeah, the question is, so it says that the chair will bring the matter to the board for its consideration, review, and action, and it will be within 30 days from the receipt by the chair. So if it so happens that we are not meeting between that
Yeah, we would
time,
have to call a special
we
meeting.
have to call the
Yep.
special meeting,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
think, honestly, 30 days gives us some flexibility, especially if we need to consider something. But if we got something like this, I would want to meet before 30 days, so that if we had to think about it, if we had to do a little research, if we, whatever, I think, but 30 days is like the max, like at
Okay.
that point. So I wouldn't necessarily say we would meet until our very next meeting. We would
Mhm.
try to address it as quickly as possible. I also think that's just good customer service, like for us as representatives to the town, that we address someone's concern as soon as we can. So that's my feeling on it anyways. But I think if we were to say, we'll turn it around in 3 days, that's not practical
No.
either, right? So 30 days is a nice window. Okay, so I made a motion. Did we have a second on it?
I did.
Janet, okay. All those in favor? 500, thank you. Do we need to look at the request for reconsideration and approve that, or is that just for our information?
I think you should look at it and
Oh,
approve
yes,
it
there
as
are
well.
dates on here.
Mhm.
Okay, so the request for reconsideration of library resources. I don't know if people have had a chance to take a look at this. I've been spending, I had a couple meetings with some other colleagues where we looked at a very similar form. Any concerns or questions about this? It's actually just really good for us to see too what kind of information we would be looking for if someone were to make a challenge.
I make a motion to accept the reconsideration of library resources policy as is.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Karen.
Whichever.
Any further discussion? This is pretty much standard practice. I was looking at one from another GMX library actually in reference, and it looks very similar. So, okay, all those in favor of accepting the request for reconsideration? Okay, well, 500, before I could even say it. All right. So the collection development policy we do not have before us. So I will ask the board if you'd like to review it before we make the addition of this to, because Yvette wanted to add the ALA statement on book censorship. Would anyone like some time to review that policy since we did not have it in our packet, and we can address it at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. We'll do the collection development with this addition for the January meeting. And then we have the media relations policy.
I make a motion to accept the media relations policy as is.
Yeah, it's like, we're committed to the shortest meeting. Let's
Well,
move
you
it. Okay.
said it's the
Shortest
shortest
day,
day.
shortest meeting. Okay.
Second.
Okay, great. Okay. All in, is there any discussion
Yeah.
about this? Okay, all in favor? Five people have a lot to do before the holidays. Okay, 500. Okay, great, thank you. Thanks, Janet, for pushing that through. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go. Okay, where was my agenda? It got buried
You
in
still
my-
have programming?
Programming, sorry.
Okay.
Programming policy. I have one on here.
I don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Yeah, I didn't have that either. I was gonna go look in my email here.
Yeah. We don't have.
Okay.
It's on the list of things, but
I'm looking.
did not get attached,
Yeah.
it looks like.
Okay.
All right, so let's
I
do.
probably just attached too many things and
Yeah,
lost.
so let's do
This is what
you know what, it makes sense, let's do collection development and programming for January. We'll do both those policies, okay? Okay. Were there any other policies that you thought we were going to review that?
It's just so that you're familiar with the ALA
Yep.
statement.
Yeah, and I think that people read that over in the context of our collection development policy for
Okay.
the next meeting, that kind of, when we put it all together, I think that makes sense
Okay.
too.
The other thing is, I think I'm gonna give you a heads up on something we're working on that, we're talking about, we're updating the Library of Things policy, the lending
Mhm.
policy. And there are a couple of items, let's see, it's the power washer, the radon detector, a drone, or the drones and exercise equipment, that the department heads are concerned we should have patrons sign a waiver when they check out these items.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing nods, so
Mhm.
that's, I can do some I've been doing some research, they've been doing some research on
Mhm.
waivers versus disclaimers, libraries that have people sign a waiver, but then we have to keep it on file. How long do we keep it on file?
Mhm.
If we keep it on file, then that means that your lending history is still active and it's not wiped clean. Or we're talking about a scenario where we could shred the permission and have
Mhm.
someone sign something every time they want to check out a power washer, or
Mhm.
what they wanted to do was to have a blanket waiver, but I don't think the blanket waiver is gonna
Mhm.
work, because
Mhm.
then we have it on file and that's
Mhm.
your loaning, that's your
Mhm.
lending history. The other thing is, if we have someone sign a waiver, it is logical to me that we would submit this to the town attorney
Agreed.
for review.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is
Mm.
kind of what we're thinking,
Mhm.
and you're confirming
Yes.
I should keep
Please.
doing. Okay,
Yes, yes.
so you might see that in January.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
think I think without something like that, I don't think that's a good idea to be lending those things. I think
Yes.
that's really,
Okay,
especially.
because we
yeah.
went around a lot about restricting.
No, we just
Okay.
we need to protect the library and that.
That makes
yeah.
it very easy for me,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll work on that. So you'll see
Yeah,
that
and
like
we,
January.
that's why we are really lucky to have access to the town attorney for things like this.
Yep.
It needs to be done the right way. Okay. Fine, boy, it's 7:45 and we've already made a lot of decisions, but here we are at the fine-free forgiveness pilot. So we agreed that we would look at this again in December. What do you have for us, Yvette?
I mostly have anecdotes.
Okay.
Oh, shoot, okay, that's POs. I have, I'm trying to see what I printed. Hang on. Most, Alyssa, who is our head of CERC now, she went to Amherst Library for some training and was asking them about their fine-free program. They've been fine-free for a while. So basically, that's the direction the GMILC's libraries are going in. And she said anecdotally from them, it's, the staff over there, the department head over there had nothing but positive things to say. The patrons love it. Staff like it because it leads to more positive interactions at the desk. And she doesn't think that their bottom line is really being affected all that much overall. She said that as far as returning items goes, anyone who was going to hold on to books past their due dates are still going to do that regardless of fines or not. And after a certain point, they get charged for the full item anyway. They don't have a library of things collection in Amherst, so that's one thing that is a different kind of collection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I still think this is a good idea, and we're just hearing positive things from our patrons as well.
Janet, I know that you wanted to see some
I
numbers.
don't have any data,
Okay.
so I can't say, I'm more just about, this is how much we usually
Yep.
take in, this is how much, and I don't
Yeah.
have any of that, so.
Yeah, well, but that, in the beginning, we ran some reports about what was the initial wiping everything. And these were fines we would never have collected because they were old. And then we were tracking through December. So we're not done with December yet, but the staff were asking, what are we gonna do in January? And it's like, well, we'll find out, but,
So do you want to wait and see data from December to make a decision?
it would be October, November, December of what's been happening. I mean, you've been seeing the monthly deposits.
Right, which I still don't get, but that's
Okay.
beside the point.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
understand them, it's more of a question mark, I just don't, are the well, it doesn't matter, we can take it offline.
I can have Alyssa run reports. She's getting up to speed, so,
Honestly,
All eyes are on you, Janet.
it's data for me,
Yeah.
but am I gonna sway anybody? Doubtful. So, I
Well,
mean,
I don't know that that's true.
Okay.
I mean, if it depends on the data. And the thing is that in the back of my mind is always how illuminating is this data really, since we still have these extraordinary circumstances with COVID. So are people doing what they would typically interact with the library?
Mm-mm.
And they're not.
No,
right.
because we don't have in-person, we just had a little bit of in-person story time for a month,
Right.
but no.
So Heaney,
And,
I'm sorry, Karen.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry, I
ahead.
thought you were going, no, please,
No.
you finish. I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
go ahead.
So, fine-free, I'm not looking at the profit and loss statement. Beyond that, I just have one question. So when we get this new circulation, like, new books, and then people start taking them out, you go and put on hold if you want to read it. So if somebody is holding onto it for a long time and other people are waiting in line, how do we handle that? It's fine-free.
As someone who's always late with my books, a fine has never stopped me from keeping a book I wanted.
Yes.
I'll just join. I'm sorry.
Thank you for their honesty.
Thank you. Yeah, but this happens, yes. So how do you get that book back to give it to the next person? Because sometimes Merrimack has only one copy or no copy, and
We
you have
can-
to get it.
We
You
would probably
borrow-
buy a second copy. If it's something really popular, we have other procedures to fill
Yeah.
that request.
Yes, but the person who's not paying the fine and holding on to the book,
Mhm.
not you, Deb.
Yeah,
but-
Well,
I'm
if
listening.
it's
I try.
Yeah.
If it's a new book,
Yes.
it won't have, I think, for certain parts of the collection, I don't have it off the top of my head, there's a restriction on, the length, like a new book goes up for 7 days,
Mhm.
and sure, it doesn't have a fine attached to
Mhm.
it, but, it's overdue, so the notices for overdue items are going to engage sooner than a regular book that, goes out for longer than that.
Can I ask a question too? Would someone have blocks on their card if things were overdue, even if there weren't fines, that would prevent them from using other
Yeah.
resources? I'm not saying that's ever happened to
Well-
me, but I'm just wondering, if you have
Right now, the blocks are tied to fines.
Fines,
It's a
yeah.
$5 limit. If you owe $5, then your card is blocked.
Mhm.
So I don't know how the blocks,
Yeah.
I don't think we have blocks right now,
Um,
but.
Yeah, Janet, to your point about the swaying people, I don't think that's just the only reason to collect the data, though. I don't think we as a board should make decisions just based on our good feelings about things. I think that
Mm.
data is actually what we want to be using, even if we decide that we are going to go forward. Even if the data doesn't support our decision, we're informed about that decision. We're understanding what the implications are of the decision we make. So I hesitate to put forth a motion, me personally, even though my impulse is like, yeah, that would be great. I don't feel like it's the right thing to do without having the data so that we at least understand how it might impact us. And not just us, but future boards, if we do that. Mike, please.
Well, the data I'm looking at is all these other libraries are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, a lot more are gonna do it, and none of them are running back to fines.
Yeah, that's
So-
probably true also. Yeah, no, I agree with, I agree with you. I agree with you. I still just think that, just as a matter of procedure and process, right? I'm not saying let's have fines for a month. I would actually make a motion that we extend fines. I think it's still, especially with things that are happening in this right now
Yeah.
with surges that are happening, encouraging curbside, we're trying to do those things. I would not want to ask somebody to have to pay fines, especially after we haven't been. But I don't think it hurts us to still say, we need to see the data,
Yeah.
because I personally, if someone said to me, why did you give up fines? I would like to be able to understand what the implication of it is, that, yeah, it's great for our patrons, and we agree with that, and I totally support it. But we also know that there's going to be some long-term effects, maybe not right away, but in years to come. So then I think we as a board say, well, we know we're going to lose this much. Do we invest differently? Do we look for alternate sources of fundraising? What do we do? What can we legally do to supplement those things? I don't know. I just think more data is not bad, but I agree with you. Yeah.
I mean, we're just putting off the inevitable
Probably.
pretty much.
Probably, but I still think that we need to understand like, I would love a clear picture of, like, this is how much we collected, this is how much we used to collect, this is how much we have. What are, going down the line, what's gonna happen? How's that gonna affect other things? You know, do the passports supplement it enough? Like, I just think it's not bad to have that information, and I worry that if we made a vote on it, that we wouldn't get that information, not because we vet, but because we'd be moving on to other things. And I think it's just, and also,
Okay. Yeah.
some people are really data-driven, and we need to, you know, be mindful of that too, so.
I
So
also
he- oh,
want
please.
to comment to Mike. I agree with you that there are a lot of libraries that have gone fine-free, but not all libraries got to keep their fines. You had to do a warrant article back in like the 80s to accept fines, and not all libraries did. So their fines went back to the town.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it wasn't an income source that they were accepting anyway. So just throwing that out there. Just-
Yeah, libraries are interesting. There's lots of variables and stuff, and okay, Sohini, you've had your hand up, sorry.
I think Karen
No, go
had it
ahead.
first.
I won't forget.
Okay. So about the data, what she's saying, like, as I said, like, can we get a trend, like, the trend of, like, how people, like, borrow the books, and then what is kind of the trend of the returning, like, how many people do it within time, kind of a overview, just to see, like, you know, because we need to have books in the library for people to borrow it out. So
Yeah.
if, like,
Yep, but don't
Yeah.
forget too, they're renewing automatically 3
Yeah,
times, so
yeah.
that's gonna change things. So, you know,
yes, so after that thrice renewal, like every 15 days, so it's 45 days. So how, are they returning within 45 days, or they're not, kind of, that trend? Can we pull that up from Polaris or something?
I'm sure we can. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of data I can ask the staff for, because if we're not accruing fines,
Yeah.
if we're not even accruing them,
Mm.
then it would be dependent on the return date.
Return date, yeah. So like, are they over or they're within? So that gives kind of a balance, like, you know, on the data perspective, like the borrowing trend from the library.
Karen, please.
With all of this discussion, it seems to me that we won't want to vote specifically on whether this we have determined that this will be a fine-free library. That maybe we want to extend
Mm-hmm.
the preliminary nature to see if things clarify as time goes on, because it's just not a typical time for libraries.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It just strikes me that you'd be voting with not nearly enough information to really or I wouldn't feel secure
Janet,
to
is it-
say that it would be permanent.
yeah, I agree, but I also am curious about like how we're gonna get that information. You said, what are they tracking right now that they would be tracking through December? Because Janet, you were asking for data, so what kind of data do you
Yeah,
specifically?
I was, when Yvette said she was making notes, I was also making notes. And I'm not sure right now. It's one of those I'm just gonna have to like ponder through, because like Sohini made a comment about due dates, like if the original due date is that 2 weeks later, are they, like, assuming they return it within the whatever it is,
The 45 days.
42,
Yeah, 45
45
days.
days. When within that? I mean, I don't even know if that matters. I don't know yet. I gotta think about it.
And could you maybe give us an idea, and I know we mentioned this in discussion, perhaps we can look at this in January, and you could give us an idea of how much exactly, I know we look at the statement from the treasurer, but like what we have in fines, what we normally take in, what we normally spend, just to give us an idea of like, how long is it gonna last, what we have,
Sure.
right? And
Mhm.
because at some point, the things that we then pay for with fines, we'll either have to add to the budget or find alternate ways to fund them. So I think that is probably more, for me, more useful to have an idea of the big picture implications than the day-to-day of people just being late with their books and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so.
You brought up, you brought up at, I don't know, it wasn't the last meetings, because
I wasn't here.
it was, no, but in the fall,
Okay.
or earlier
Yeah.
in the year, it was around $1,100
Yeah.
was the general amount. Now, the trouble is that things are so different now, that even that's not really a good
Yeah.
base to look at as higher or lower.
So could we just look at like historically, maybe a sampling of before, and could I make a motion that we get that data and we look at it and make a decision in January?
Sure.
Yes?
All right,
Okay,
so-
I'm gonna make a
so-
motion that we collect historical information, right, that would give us a picture of what the implications of going fine-free would be on a long term, right? So we have this much in fines, this is how much we usually use, this is how much we spend each year. This money will be gone in X number of years. No, but I think that's okay, and the money is meant to be spent, it's not like that,
Yep.
but we need to understand, so if that happens, then we need to be thinking, okay, so in the future, a future board will be looking at, and maybe it'll just be not a big deal at that point, I don't know. But I
Yeah.
think it's not bad, and I know what you're saying, like, I am supporting this also, but we need to just understand what we're doing, so.
Say it again.
So I make a motion that we gather information for a historical context of fines and expenditures and what the implications would be in the long term for going fine-free. And that we review this in January. In the meantime, we continue to be fine-free.
Can I,
Yeah, you can.
I, I think, you know, if you could make a motion or include that, you know, because your cutoff was December 31st, to just say,
That's-
we're gonna be fine-free in January.
That's what I said, and we will continue to be fine. We'll be fine-free in January.
Okay.
Okay, so that it's through the month. So yes,
Yeah.
we'll be fine-free in
Okay.
January.
Put historical context.
I think it'd be just nice to know that we
information
have this much money, and like, given the way it's been being
Fines.
spent, we will have it for this much longer,
To
and then, you know.
determine-
I'm gonna send you a list of
Yeah,
questions.
good. And I think, I, I'm thinking we're gonna be emailing a bit. But other scenarios that, when you run your numbers on, from the statements, could be, we go fine-free with teen, we go fine-free with children's, we cherry pick.
And that's one of my things for you, because at the moment, it might be like 90% of all the fines are, let's say, kids. And we've talked in the past about getting away with kids, so there's a small little bit that are
Mhm.
adults, and maybe it doesn't matter, or maybe it's the reverse. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we can check material
So you guys can
type.
come up with that, and we will have some statistics to look at. So, all right, so that motion is that after statistics are gathered, we will review this in January, but that we will be fine-free for the month of January.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 500. Okay, great. All right, November general ledger. Any concerns, questions? No? November invoice manifest, open POs. Anything on that? Anyone? Okay, moving on to everybody's favorite statistics. Let's see. Statistics for 2021, 2022. Or 21, oh, I'm thinking 2022. Yep, just quarter one. Yvette, anything you'd like to bring to our attention, or any questions people have for Yvette?
I'm still on the POs. Okay.
I do. Total customer cards. I'm sure there's some explanation as to why it's,
Which one are you looking at?
on the 2020. And it's close to the bottom, under
Yep.
customers.
Yep. Oh, yep.
So there's no total customer cards right now listed in there?
No, there's some data that we weren't able to get, so I have to go back to the staff.
Any trends, anything you're noticing that you'd like to point out to us?
I gave you, the 2019, so I gave you 1920, because let's get this right, 2021, was the COVID year that we were closed. So, I think it's, just in looking at materials, we're coming back.
Mhm.
We're close we're close to our previous numbers of a normal year.
Mhm.
So I thought that was a positive.
Is the July, August, September 2020 really 2021, or is it 2020? So we don't have the 2021.
Don't look at the heading. The
Okay.
heading was not correct on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yes, we just have the big one that you gave us is 2019 to 20. That was before COVID. Then we don't have the year that
Right,
the
the not in
library
the
was in
middle.
transition, and then we have
Okay.
now. So, yes, so the numbers look like they're very much trending in the same direction.
Yeah. But you can still see that people still
Yeah.
aren't
Mhm.
fully utilizing.
Absolutely.
Well, I think a lot of that is, if you think about like, children's events, total attending
Yeah,
is down, which
exactly.
you can't blame people,
No,
right? So that's
no.
like, that's a huge impact right there. That could account for a lot of the material changes. Yes.
And not only that, but also, people are becoming dependent on their personal technology to the point where I think it's almost easier for them to stay home and just not use the library, because that involves going out. Everybody has got the stay where you are mentality, especially every time we start to go out, all this craziness starts again. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see if it comes back.
If you look at the total physical, not counting the GMILK stuff, I mean, in August, it was only a little bit higher, but I mean, it's really, the total physical versus the total physical, we're very
Yeah.
much where
Yeah.
we were. That
Yeah.
one hasn't gone down so much.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute, the total physical versus the,
So if you look at total physical versus total physical plus van, just the total physical and the total physical are very similar. In August of 21, it was 13,052. In August of 19, it was 13,017. I mean,
Yeah.
those numbers are very comparable. First column, right in physical items, sir.
I must be looking, yeah, I got that.
Yeah, and just the total physical is very similar on both of those.
I have 3,858
In what?
And August
in August 2021.
This one says July, August, September 2020. I have, for 2021, I have 10,400. I have a July, August, September, I have different numbers than you.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Oh. Okay.
The one that you're looking at, there's July, August, September 2020.
The one that I have that said 2020 was actually 2021.
No. No,
I don't-
then what is this
I
one?
don't have that. I skip a
don't
year.
know.
If you look on the right-hand side, not the heading,
Mm-hmm.
or the left-hand side, that's the fiscal year.
The fiscal year 2019-20, and then I have fiscal year 2020-21.
And then there's fiscal year 21, 22.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
We don't have printed.
No.
Oh, that one actually came in our packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would explain why
Yeah.
I'm looking at things very differently
Okay.
from you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
like, it's not that
okay.
different. So
No, that was in the packet because it's on regular paper. I don't think everyone has legal size paper at home,
Yeah, so this is the regular
there's a-
one. That's
So
what I
in the
got. So-
future, it's
Ah.
going to be on 2 pages on regular paper, so
Got it.
it'll be a lot easier
Yeah,
for
so
you to.
just,
Okay.
so I will just share with you
Okay, I
that.
see it now.
Okay, so you can see that the numbers aren't that far off,
No,
really.
no,
So,
they're not.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. Sorry, very confused. All right.
Okay.
Okay, are there any further questions for Yvette? Okay, great, thank you. Moving right along, I keep losing my agenda. Here we go. Okay, director's report.
Okay. So we did receive a couple of donations from the time that I sent this out to now. So we received a check in the mail, for $400. It's from Heather McDonald and William Dallas. It's a donation. We get this every year.
Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the donation from Heather McDonald and William Dallas of $400.
I accept, means I second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? 500, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
and
that
thank
very
you. Yeah,
generous
exactly.
donation.
Okay, we also received a donation of a classical guitar, an acoustic guitar with nylon strings from Michael Kennedy. He had also donated a case with it, but the case was in poor condition. I've had this guitar looked over from some guitar techs at Manchester Music Mill, where we usually go for our guitar needs. And they said it would be fine, you know, it's fine for circulation, you know, so I'm comfortable
Okay,
bringing it to you to accept.
Could I just get the name of the person again?
Michael Kennedy,
and there were
Thank
2
you.
guitars,
one guitar,
1 guitar and,
and I'm buying a case.
Okay. So-
Because the case
okay.
wasn't in good condition to circulate.
So I make a motion that we accept the guitar from Michael Kennedy.
Okay. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Great. Motion passes 500.
Okay, and that would go into the Library of Things.
Mhm.
We received a donation of 2 picture books to be added to the children's room collection. I guess not 2 picture books, 1 picture book and a novel.
By Katie Camillo.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Beatrice Prophecy by Kate DiCamillo and Brilliant Bee
Mhm.
by Shana Rudolph and Mary Vukadinovich, and illustrated by Fiona Lee. These are in honor of Deborah Walter, a teacher at the Thornton's Ferry School, and the donation is from Kathleen Gilchrist.
I make a motion that we accept the donation of the Beatrice Prophecy and Brilliant Bee in honor of, could you tell me the teacher's name again, please?
Deborah Walter.
Deborah Walter, from Kathy Gilchrist. Is that
Kathleen
Kathleen
Gilchrist.
Gilchrist.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, 500. Thank you. What a lovely donation.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's wonderful.
And then, and these are coming in now because there was some information that we work on, and then Kathy gave it to me. So it's like, okay, now I can give you this information. So we had this book donated by Richard Herman and Carolyn Casado in memory of Edward Joseph Herman. It's a picture book called The Miracle Workers, Boy versus Beast by Renee Marsh and illustrated by Sumi Colina. There's already a book plate in it from the family, but when we receive donated items, we would put a book plate in it also with
Mhm.
the library information and information that they would like to add. So, but this is a picture book that Kathy would like to add to the collection for the family.
Okay, so it's from Michael Herman, and I'm sorry, what was the?
I'm sorry, it's Richard Herman.
Richard Herman, thank you.
And Carolyn Cusato, Cusato. And it's in memory of Edward Joseph Herman.
I make a motion that we accept the donation of the miracle workers from Richard Herman. And I'm sorry, my brain is not with me.
I know,
It's like
it's not typed, so I'm
Carolyn
sorry. Carolyn Cusato,
Carolyn Cusato,
in memory of
in memory of
Edward Joseph
Edward
Herman.
Joseph Herman.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? And I'm sorry, I wish I could have remembered all of that, but I apologize. Another lovely donation, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that one's accepted. So, moving forward, with the COVID-19 reopening plan, the town had sent a notice to all employees about, the town manager will accept at-home COVID tests because there's such a demand at a facility, so that's the only change we have in our procedures. And then, as you mentioned, we're increasing our promotion of curbside pickup, which we're still offering, but otherwise there are no changes.
Would you repeat what they said about town hall is accepting what?
We're
test?
following town hall's procedures, and when there is a positive COVID test among the staff, or if a staff has been exposed, close contact with someone who has had a positive COVID test, they themselves have to be tested. So now we are also going to accept at-home tests. And there's a procedure for submitting it. And ultimately, all of our, if we have a COVID report in the library, it goes to Sharon in Human Resources, because she's collecting all the data
Sure.
for everyone who works in the town, and we're included in that. So that's why we're following their procedures
Absolutely.
the same way.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Okay.
Okay.
You have the maintenance list. So I don't know if you have any questions about any of the projects going on in the maintenance list.
The slate roof,
Yep.
is that something to get someone out to look at? Is it probably not a good time of year? I don't know. We can't keep pushing it off.
Mhm.
We need some information about it.
I think that we are a thorough, some might even say slow-moving board, and I think that the more information we can gather, the sooner, the better. I don't see the point in putting off gathering information. So let's get some information. Let's find out what are our options, what would be advised. I think that we're going to really want to make a very careful decision about this. Do we stick with slate? Is it time to change to a different material? Let's start gathering some information and look at that within the context of all the other things that need to happen there. I don't think that's a bad thing to do. Yvette, can you add that to your ever-growing list of things to do?
Put it on.
Okay. I think we can't make a decision here about anything. We just need to find out what the experts would recommend
Yeah.
and see.
Mhm.
So,
Is there, I happen to have seen an article in one of the little papers that I get. It's not a historical site, but it is on some registry, that places you can type in all your different information and it gets put on a list. Is that something that would be beneficial? Does our library meet any of those requirements?
I will say, I don't know what it is like in Merrimack. So anecdotally, growing up in a community that had a lot of historic buildings, that can also work against you because it might limit how much you can do to make the building actually sustainable, because of trying to preserve historic character. So I think it can go both ways.
Okay.
I really do. So
There's an application it falls under the Moose Plate program in the state. And I've looked at the application before, and that is something that would need to be filled out by not just me. It would need to have couple of other people involved in this. If you want to pursue that, I'll say,
I would be
the
curious about
board.
what kind of restrictions it would place on what could be updated and changed. That I would be curious about that.
We might have already, the fact that there's the.
Well,
Oh, it
the
might-
windows.
right.
well, it's the windows. We
Oh.
had the windows refurbished
Okay.
in the Lowell room a couple of years ago. So that was a change. It didn't change anything, and we had a historic window restorer work on them. So because it wasn't on the library wasn't on it's not on a historic list. It wasn't at the time, and no one was very interested in pursuing the long, complicated application to
Sure.
get it on the list. But I think it's worth exploring. But it's if I remember the form correctly, it's not just me. You know,
Maybe we should
it's a
look-
committee type
Yeah,
thing.
maybe we should look at the form, but again, I would really be curious about what kind of limitations being on a historic registry might put on the building, not just for us, but for
For
the
future,
future too,
right.
so. But again, gather information,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
find out.
That's fine.
I just want to say that I love the display. I was driving down the road, the one in the
Oh,
north
the
window.
window?
No, I know.
Oh my gosh, I was driving down the road and I was like,
Okay.
why has this never been done before? I just was blown away. It is so,
And it
Grew-
grew
oh,
every day
it's-
that I drove
it's-
by.
I don't know if you've seen it coming from the north side. It's like a forest. There's like a reindeer. I mean, it's just like beautiful. It's so
It's like
beautiful.
birch trees.
And it's all
it's
done in white.
snow.
Where
It's,
is
it's
this?
great.
On the north wall, on the north window.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally
they,
good.
well
Okay.
done. I was like, I don't know.
Joanne, Jared, and
Jen.
Jen.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, they put up like a swirl of snowflakes with
Mm.
using our snowflake die cut. And they just took it over this year. And
It's amazing.
someone had
so
a
good.
vision. It wasn't me, but
They did a great job.
It looks
and
great.
it's
Yeah.
all adhesive
Oh,
paper.
neat.
So
Yeah, it looks really
it is
good.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It's very
it's
beautiful.
perfect.
I should stop parking in front of it because I'm blocking it.
It's really beautiful
I'll move my
except for Yvette's car. in front.
yeah, my stupid car. Okay.
No, it's great.
So, I know, we're looking at the clock.
No, I'm not. I'm not. There is
How's
no
the
rush.
carpet?
There is no rush. We're just
Yeah,
going.
very
I know, but I really
What-
trying.
No,
So, one of
no.
the things that on the maintenance project list, that is, needs to be updated is the, iron railing
Mm-hmm.
project because that's not finished. And you don't have an open PO list because there were some questions about where are some of these POs, they weren't showing up in Unifund when we were running the report. So the conclusion to that question is, some POs were closed, they had to be reopened, and then we're working on that. You'll see an updated PO list eventually. Definitely next month, but I can probably send it out after this meeting if you wanna know.
When they were closed, what happened to the funds?
That's what I need to find out.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But, so I have half of an answer, but I don't have a full answer yet.
Okay.
Canopy wasn't captured at the end of the year. And then some others were closed, and then we have some that were brought over, that, I have a note here to ask you to vote to reallocate. One would be reallocate for Mill City railings, because we have to get a new quote on that, because it's been a long time it's been over a year since we had that first quote, and all of the work was pushed out.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think about the steps and the
Yes.
railing.
Yep,
If the steps need to be removed again?
yes.
So how does that all fit together? Sorry.
So, when the snow melts,
Mhm.
we'll need to get the repair proposal
Mm-hmm.
from the vendor who first looked under the steps,
Mhm.
and we were not getting that. And then, once we have that proposal in hand and a date for him to come in, or yet another vendor to come in and do that small repair, then we can have them removed, repair, put back on, and then the railings can
Okay, so
be
the,
refurbished and
so
go
the
on.
railings are gonna go down, there still has to be a few things before the railings go
Yes,
on, okay.
Yes, yes. So
what-
that's kind of out there, as, it's still a project that's gonna be on the maintenance
Mhm.
list for a while, but we also have to reallocate money
From where to where?
from, the PO, and this is just a draft I'm looking at. There's a PO for, King Information Systems for $6,000. The book drop at Natticook Fire Station to, I was saying we should replace it, but, Jerry rigged the problem, and it's an old book drop, but no one feels we need to replace it just yet. But when we were encumbering funds at the end of the year, I encumbered it, so now that money can be reallocated.
But you need to get a quote first from the railing people.
Yeah,
Okay,
I, I have pieces of things, I'm sorry, I don't have the
that's
whole thing.
okay. So, once you get a
There
quote.
was money for, originally there was money for the railing.
That one, let me check.
I feel like I need to see this.
Yeah, this is not a great conversation here. I apologize. You know, I wait on things and then I get things and then I
Yeah,
yeah,
don't send them
it
to you
happens.
because
Mhm.
I have a squirrel.
Mhm.
But I
Well,
can.
The
let
railing's
me-
not being done in January, right, so you can get a quote and you kind of present the POs to us and maybe figure out what
Right.
happened, because I'd like to see like the whole picture, especially if there was some question about what was closed, you know, if we can see, what do we have, get that.
Yeah, so I'll finish explaining what I was saying. Some of the money from the book drop
Mhm.
PO, Max would like it reallocated to be able to buy, 3 new computers to be installed on the main service floor. There was a lot of moving computers around and reallocating, and, we came up short
Mhm.
based on how our tech
Mhm.
reallocated that. So that would be one thing that the King PO would go to. And then to our, computer tech to do the work to set up these computers, and these are computers for the public. And then, an additional, the last piece of that would be estimating $2,500 to go towards the iron project.
Okay,
So that's what you would be looking at.
okay,
I know you need it in writing.
yeah, a little bit, so,
That's fine.
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's,
But that's what we're looking towards, that once all these, and I think it would just be good if there's some issues with POs, if we just kind of saw the whole thing, because maybe there might be
Yeah.
other things we need to reallocate also.
sure. Okay. Other things, I don't know if there's anything, on my report that you have a question about. We did get our, passport acceptance agency, application. I submitted it. I've already received an email back saying we're accepted, so we are ready to go for 2022. I don't know if you have questions about other things in this report, though.
No, I don't have anything. Sohini, do you have any questions? Mike? Just let Jared, Jen, and Joanne know
That
how much
basically
we
you
love
just
that.
need to encourage. Okay. One thing we're looking at, for New Hampshire legislation is a bill called HB 1529, which is related to public libraries and background checks on employees and volunteers.
Mm.
This is the language of the bill right now, is saying that trustees may require all volunteers to have a federal background check before they come in to help with the library. and it's very vague language, and some of the question that we have and that our lobbyist is looking at, our lobbyist with the NHLA, does this extend to program performers? And
Oh, right.
there was an instance in another town last year that had someone come in and volunteer to do a drag queen story time, and some of us feel that that's where this pushback is coming from, so that you'd have to have a background check run on that volunteer. Normally, we don't have volunteers in the library. You know, we have the Friends group, which is different, and you guys don't count as volunteers. So the trustee board doesn't count as volunteers. And then, you know, all of our staff already have a state background check. If someone comes from out of state, like I did, then you have a federal background check run. I've been fingerprinted. I think I'm the only staff person right now who has been fingerprinted. But this federal background check, if this law goes through, the language says that trustee boards may require that volunteers have a federal background check, and then the discussion is, where does that cost fall? You know, it would fall on the municipal budget that you have. Yeah.
Well, that's may and not shall, right?
Yes, right now.
Geez, I swear these people are dumb.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look
When
at
I
the
was
legislation.
growing up, I thought I could never be president, never be Congress, and now I'm like, look at these people.
And your journey has started as a library trustee, elected official. Look at you go, man.
All right, well, thank you for keeping us apprised of that, so we can keep our
I'm
eye
sure
on.
you'll hear about it from the Library Trustee Association too, because they are also very actively tracking it with us. So, yep.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments for Yvette? All right, treasurer's report, Janet.
Okay, our balances. So for our fines balance, we began November with $10,163.09. And we ended with $9,220.56. And then special began with $35,656.88, and it ended with $35,462.70. Any questions?
Not from me. Any questions, Sohini? Okay.
That's it. So yeah, actually, I just, as a more of a question to you, I'm looking at the profit and loss by month for fines, and September, October, and November, I'll have fines listed, and it's not all replacement money.
We had this conversation
Yeah.
about it, where we have another updated procedure when the staff receive money over the desk. It was just going in the drawer. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. Where to back up to. When the staff receive money across the desk, it could be for a lot of different reasons. They could be paying for printing, but the money just goes in the drawer. And so then when I'm counting down the drawer to make a deposit, or when the reference staff is counting down the drawer at the beginning of the day to start, nobody knew where this money was supposed to be allocated to. And so we've been fine tuning the procedures to say, this is this, this is this, this is this. And that, it's again just been updated like a week ago.
Excellent. Okay.
So everyone knows that we're not taking fines.
Okay.
So as far as I understand, we're not taking fines. all this money has to be reallocated to something else, but it goes loose in the drawer.
Got it.
Alyssa's looking into getting a cash register,
right.
which is gonna solve a lot of these problems, because then you have to hit a button and it goes in. But right now, it's just.
Okay.
But we're not taking fines. Those are other kinds of things, and it's probably printing,
Right, it's probably more a copier.
yes.
Okay.
But it's not in front of me and I don't witness it, so I have to say probably.
Okay, and then my next question, and I probably know the answer to this. The G-Milks deposits that we get in the past were mostly was fines. Is that now like a replacement?
Yeah,
Okay, so essentially all, or mostly, probably all, of the G-Milks deposits are replacement money.
because we're not accepting fines.
Okay, then
So-
I need to change that,
Okay.
because I don't think, or I'll verify.
Yeah, each library, if someone returns a Merrimack item to another GMOX library, then the staff would follow their local rules. So if they do a processing fee,
Right.
Goffstown does, then they'll accept that. And so if we, they're still gonna accept a processing fee, even if it comes to us and we say, well, we'll waive the fine, but then we still need to charge the processing fee to the patron.
Okay. I just have deposits from, e-commerce that G-Milk's in, and I'm like, all right, these must be.
Well, we didn't get a check this past month. We had nothing from e-commerce.
I have one. Oh, not from December, but it's November.
Yeah.
Then that's good.
Yeah. So, I didn't think of that, because when she's, she'll mail it, and it's like, where's mine? Oh, no, I'm not supposed to get one,
Yeah.
so, okay.
And no replacements. That's good. Okay, good.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions for Janet, for the treasurer's report? Okay, our next item on our agenda is acceptance of minutes, but I don't know the correct protocol, if I should make a motion or if we should just to table this, because given that some of our discussion was about the budget and raises and what sort of thing,
Yeah.
I'd like to take some time to review the minutes rather than vote on them. And so unless people want to read them over now, I'd like to make a motion that we review these minutes at the next meeting so that we have a record. Mike seconds it. All in favor? That way we can take a look through them, because I think that just trying to approve them here, I want to make sure that the record adequately reflects what we voted to do. So-
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if, as you're reviewing them, you find mistakes, please.
Well, we'll bring them to the next meeting so that we can all do it together. So,
Okay.
yep, perfect. Thank you. All right, committee updates. Nothing on the Building Exploratory Committee. The Friends of the Library met, let me go back in my notes, November 29th. Their next meeting will be December 27th. They had a lot of discussion about what to do regarding a book fair, or not book fair, my worlds are crossing, a book sale. And I think that the general feeling is that there will not be one in January, and they really want to be careful and mindful of options and how to do it safely. So I think there was some discussion, even to the best of my knowledge, that was kind of where they left it.
Yeah.
There was also a lot of discussion. They're a very hardworking board of volunteers, and I think that they're trying to discuss how to best disperse the work, like how to, make it work better. So they're very thoughtful and do a lot for the library. So that, they're just trying to figure out how to run most efficiently, and yeah, that's it. And anyone is welcome to join me, only one person, on December 27th for their meeting at 7. Was there anything in particular, Yvette, other than that?
No.
Okay, and I think everybody enjoyed the auction, the wreath auction, so that was a success. The Merrimack Public Library Development Fund, we will be meeting also on December 27th, but at 5 p.m. So you could sign up for 2 meetings and see Yvette and I on Zoom, but 2 wonderful groups. So that'll be 5 o'clock or 7. If someone is interested in all seriousness, I would recommend it. Just, reach out to Yvette or I. Only one person can join us, but it's worth sitting in just to see what's going on. So, and you don't have to come for the whole thing either. Yes.
Was the Friends meeting on Zoom?
Yep. Town Center. Karen, any news on Town Center stuff?
Town Center. There's nothing major. I mean, Woodbury Street is the only one that, the only project that is really ongoing now because of the weather. So, there's no meeting in December.
Okay. Personnel Committee has not had anything before them. Finance Committee, that was us meeting to go over the SMP strategic planning thing, but I already informed you that Janet and I met with Yvette, and I will be sending you guys, Yvette will be forwarding to you the link for that. So is there anything else before we review the December action items? Okay, I'll tell you what I have written down for action items, and we can add to this if I missed anything. I'm going to send you the dates that Ann Warner can meet with us, and we'll come up with a date that works for us to give her some options for January. I will also forward you the SMP RFP for a fundraising consultant, so you can review. It's from another library. They took out a lot of their information, but just to give you an idea of what that document looks like. Yvette will also forward you the draft of the document that the 3 of us worked on for your information about strategic planning. I also have that Janet and Yvette will work on statistics for Fine Free, and that will be brought to us in January. We're also going to have in January a review of the chiller financing options. Yvette is going to get quote for the iron railing and present us with that, as well as the PO list, so we can look at reallocating funds. What else? What did I miss? Was there anything else I missed? No?
I do have a question.
Please.
Or at least just a thought to bring up.
Yeah.
Sometime this year, we need to recognize Mr. Quimby,
Okay.
Barry Quimby. Is that?
And could you be more like what recognize? Like write something
no,
and put it in the paper?
In the trust.
Okay.
There's I think it was a month or something. There was something in the trust. I don't remember off the top of my head. I was just thinking about it while we sat here, that there needs to be a write-up about Barry, about what he did or who he was as a person and stuff like that. Is that, it's obviously up to you. I just didn't want to forget about it as to when and how that's done.
Well, let's take a look at the trust. I don't mind taking a look at that, and I can coordinate with Yvette, and maybe we can reach out to his dad with a draft, and we can come up with something. So, yeah, we can put that on our list of to-dos of how we can do that, and we can ask Dr. Quimby what he would like to. So, thank you for reminding us about that.
Okay. It was the memorial that reminded me of the book.
Huh.
So.
Okay. Okay, great. No, that's really important, and I want to make sure that we do that. So, thank you. Anything else? Well, if anything occurs to you as I read the upcoming events, we can get back to that. So, upcoming events, the library will be closed for Christmas Eve, December 24th and 25th for Christmas. We'll also be closed on New Year's Eve, December 31st, and New Year's Day, January 1st. The Friends of the Library will be meeting on December 27th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. The Merrimack Public Library Development Fund Committee will be meeting on December 27th at 5 p.m. via Zoom. The Merrimack Public Library Board of Trustees will have our next monthly meeting on January 18th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And the library will be presenting our budget to the town council on January 19th at 6:30. Is there anything else to come before the board? I want to thank everybody who got the gift cards together for the staff. It was so nice and well organized, so thank you. That was really easy for me to go through and match them all up, so I appreciate that. Okay. Seeing no further business, I will make a motion that we adjourn at 8:40.
Comments?
Yes, I'm sorry. Comments are from the press, public, and board members. Please, go ahead.
All right, so the library website says we have 3 alternate positions.
Yep.
Can we ask a student to sit in one of those?
Well, I think that there's a process for the alternate to go through. If a student was interested in doing that, they would need to go through the process. I don't know if they need to be over 18. I'm not sure what the process rules are.
Aren't they sworn in just like, don't they have to read something like we do? I don't remember.
Well, they're appointed.
Yeah, the
Usually,
alternate usually fills out an application with the town.
Yeah.
And then we get that information, and then the alternate would be invited to attend a meeting to see, because an alternate can sit on the board, but they don't vote unless a trustee is gone, but it would just be a way to participate in public service. And then we would have to nominate that person. So I don't see any reason why anybody who's interested couldn't and qualified couldn't go. And by qualified, I mean, I'm sure there must be something. I mean, you can't have a 9-year-old on there, can you?
Right.
Like, I don't know if there's, maybe you can
Well,
have a 9-year-old on
I'm
there.
talking about high school,
Yeah.
you know, student council. You know how the town council has a student sitting there? The student,
The school board
liaison.
does.
I know town council
Does the
did it
town-
at one
Does the
point.
town council right now?
They're not doing it right now, I don't think, but they did before.
Mm-hmm. So there is a process in place for an alternate, and if there was a student who was interested in that, they are certainly welcome to fill out the application, and then we would take a look at it and,
Yeah.
invite them to a meeting, and then they could be appointed if everything worked out, so.
Yeah, and so I might be appointed to the planning board, and one of its days runs on today.
Mm-hmm.
Not today, but the 3rd Tuesday. I was wondering if we could move to a different Tuesday.
Nothing is written in stone, so we can certainly be open to that, sure. Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
unless
if it's
anybody has,
not a big inconvenience for you all.
when would you know about this?
Next month.
Next month? So why don't you find out once you're, I mean, I don't know, does anybody have any strong feelings about the 3rd Tuesday? No?
You'd have
Do
to,
you?
no, I don't know. You'd have to look at, I'd move,
Or in our is it in
everything.
our bylaws that we meet, or
I
is
don't
it?
know, but you'd have to also look at the
Yeah.
schedule for the meeting room.
Yeah,
But you could also meet, you could choose to meet at the library.
Mhm.
I'd have to find out from Nick how far along the recording remotely
mm-hmm,
process is. but-
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, just keep, once you know, so is it just the 3rd Tuesday that they meet?
They meet twice a month,
Uh-huh.
but it's yeah. One of the days is I think it's the 1st and the 3rd Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, why don't you let us know when you hear about that appointment, and we can look at the,
It's
unless,
just, if we can't do it, then I'll decline it, because, I'm obligated to this already.
mm-hmm. I mean, does anybody have like a conflict that, I mean, I think Tuesday is a good night of the week for us, that's the, do you have an issue? No? Janet?
I don't have an issue. I agree with Yvette, though. Let's just find out when it's available, any other time,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay, so can somebody find out,
I'll do it.
Okay, so find out if it's available on the,
on the
second,
On the
I guess it'd
second
be the
Tuesday?
second, it would have to be the second, because the first, so we'd be meeting on the second Tuesday in
Or the-
January,
Or
or the 4th, the second or the 4th. Yeah, can you find out if it's available the 2nd or the 4th, and that will help
Yeah.
us make our decision, so, okay. All right, congratulations.
Well, thank
So-
you.
All right. I'm sorry, do you have any other, does anyone else, or do you have any more comments before I? No? Okay. All right, so then I make a motion, we adjourn at 8:50.
Hmm.
Anyone want to second that
I'll
motion?
second.
Okay, thank you. Any further
But
discussion?
It's 8:47 now.
Okay.
Even better.
Oh, you can vote no then. Okay, so all in favor of adjourning? Okay, great, thank you. Thanks, everybody.